Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 39 of the Supply Drop. I'm Scott. I'm still filling in for Nate, who's recuperating, and Thick is waiting for bail. So joining me this week, I have enlisted a friend of mine, an old co-host of mine, for this special Xbox edition of the Supply Drop. This is Liam. He's coming from Wales and is essentially an Xbox player. And to break from our regular format until the band gets back together, we're going to take on some topics about Microsoft and Xbox, Starfield, Redfall, and anything else that might be bothering us about Xbox right now. So without further ado, we're going to get into our first topic, which is the hot one. We talked a little bit about it last week, but it's Redfall at 30 frames per second, no co-op progression, always online, de novo for PC. And then let's start with you, Liam. What are your thoughts on this? Is this it's not happy ones, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, personally, I don't mind some games. I like 30 FPS. I do get why people are annoyed because, I mean, this is an FPS shooter. So, yeah, people want it to be at least 60 frames.
Right.
I get that. But it's funny how, like, Xbox is always... It just seems to be on like a back foot all the time when it comes to marketing.
Or the lack of.
Imagine if this 30 FPS wasn't known at the moment. So we're just waiting for it. If they said it's delayed again, we will get angry.
Yeah.
Now
we
it's
would
like,
get mad, but we would
FPS.
still be kind of like, well, okay, something's not right, so it needs to cook a little bit longer. Yeah.
Now it's at 30 FPS. People saying delay it. But if they delayed it before, you'll be angry. So it's like,
yeah, they can't win. Yeah.
I mean, I'll be playing on day one. You know, if people want to wait for 60 FPS, then wait or play on a PC.
Yeah.
I do think that maybe Arcane went for the visual quality first. You know, showing that off, but I feel like it's a bit unfair pitting it on Xbox all the time. When it's just a studio that they literally just bought. So to say it's like an Xbox hardware problem or something, it's just a game that I don't think was completely ready yet, but I want to release it and patch it later on.
Yeah, this game it's been in development for a while, and I remember there was a rumor that the next Elder Scrolls game was going to be called Redfall. Do you remember that rumor? That was probably about 6 or 7 years ago, and everybody thought they knew. Oh, everybody knew where it was going to take place, and lo and behold, it probably wasn't even on paper yet, and they just kind of announced it. So Redfall ended up being this game, but and Arcane has not really made a game like this. They have not made an open world co-op shooter. Their games have primarily been single player. Most of them have been 30 FPS out of the box, but that's because probably of the hardware at the time. But I'm kind of scared that this may be too much for them. This may be too much of a game and too much out of their wheelhouse. Everything on paper, aside from the issues, sounds great. Small town, co-op, shooter, loot, vampires. I mean, it's checking everything off for me. But yeah, having that frame rate drop is on console. It's not the hardware. We know it's not the hardware. We've seen better looking games, bigger games than this at 60 frames per second. It's got to be something going on with the studio. And yeah, I'll be playing it day one, of course. My PC, I'm hoping that will be above 60 frames per second. But of course, they're using de novo anti-theft software, which is known to create, performance problems on PC. So we might be in the same boat on that one.
Get PC on that level playing ground with you.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm playing on PC. Now I'm at 40 frames per second. Yeah, so
I mean, the frame rate cap shouldn't be a problem on PC because I think it'd be different if it was like a PvP game, but it's just co-op and things.
yeah.
I don't think PC will have a problem.
Fingers crossed. But
yeah, I didn't really think much of Redfall until recently. I was like, just another shooter because people like comparing it to like Left 4 Dead and Back 4 Blood, but it is a different type of game. And before the 30 FPS stuff came out, it actually looks really promising. So I hope it's actually solid at least.
Solid, it does.
Solid 30.
Yeah, I really like the clean aesthetic to it. Some games go for this ultra realistic, set pieces, and that's great. But a lot of times that can actually get in the way, especially if you're playing a co-op game and you need to visually see, your teammates, not just the name over their head, but you want to actually see them. You want to see what they're doing. To coordinate attacks or whatever. That's So the aesthetics of it, I really like it. It's got that arcane twist on it. I too was a little apprehensive about it until seeing the gameplay trailer, the last gameplay trailer, which was at 60 frames per second.
Yeah, everything the other does was 60. But...
Yeah, all the trailers have been 60 FPS, which is what again kind of makes you a little mad about that. But it looks great. I mean, everything looks great. The gameplay looks fun. The weapons look fun. The characters. Different characters with different abilities, and different skill trees that you can go upon. So if you have one character and you get in a match with somebody that has the same character, that doesn't mean that you're doing the same things. You might have a completely different build.
Yeah.
But with that, let's.
Do you wonder how okay, we said co-op progression, so I don't know how that works.
Right, that's what I was going to get into. Here's how it works.
There's no co-op.
Yeah, you play co-op with your friends, and apparently, like when you get loot and stuff, you do keep it. But when you go back and play by yourself, none of those missions have been done. You have to actually you're just kind of stuck where you left off in your single player game.
All the campaign is only on the host. Playing that game.
That campaign progression. Now, I don't know how that works because if these things are scaled, if you go play with your friends and you play for hours and you have all these abilities and you have this new loot, if that carries back into your original game, then it's going to break it. So I'm thinking that none of that stuff comes with you. If you can imagine like playing the second mission in the story, that would be probably fairly difficult at the beginning of the game, but you've played 10 hours and you've got all these weapons and abilities. It doesn't work that way. I mean, you can't have it that way. So I'm guessing that it's probably.
If that was the case, couldn't they like scale the enemies to your level? If like to your weapons? I don't know if it's like a level system.
I don't know. They haven't said anything about that. I haven't read anything about that. About a leveling system.
So, like if you had like higher power gear or higher power weapons, you just
that would work. Yeah.
Increase the base level of the enemies.
Yeah, exactly. So when you come back from playing with your friends, everything is at scale of what your abilities and your weapons and everything are. That would be perfectly fine. I would be okay with that. But kind of coming back and just going and having all this fun and coming back and I don't know. Even State of Decay. If you play State of Decay co-op and go play with friends, you're not getting anything for your base. But by playing with other people, when you get back to your base, you do have, they kind of reward you with things in your locker or whatever. When you go to your stash, there's stuff that's like, hey, since you played with other people, here's all this stuff. I don't know if they're going to do anything like that, or I don't know how that's going to work. But it's very.
They could do something like that easy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of an issue, non-issue. If you're going to play co-op, if you're going to play this entire game all the way through with your friends, it's not really an issue. But if you're planning to, it's obviously not going to be a drop in, drop out. Get into a situation, call your buddies, they come in and, help you out like a Gears of War or Destiny, something like that, where they can just go to your location and help you out. I don't think that's going to be this kind of game. I think you're going to have to start a multiplayer co-op session. That just seems so 360. I don't know. I mean, it just seems like something.
We can't just load in. It's so old.
Right. I know. I mean, every game should be drop in, drop out, but it is not. So,
they do have the no tethering, which they showed off.
True.
So it doesn't matter where you are. You're not confined to a space.
Right. Yeah, you can go off into the other end of the map if you want to. So that is good, and that leads me to my next one, which is the always online aspect to it. And that's probably why, because a lot of these games now, what people don't understand is that when you drop into this open world, it's not loading the entire world onto your Xbox. It can't. It would, we might be talking about, 2 terabyte. Who knows? A lot of games now stream a lot of that stuff. So if you're like, say it, you come in at the farthest east part of the map, the west part of the map is not loaded. The closer you get to it, it starts streaming the level before you get to it. Or if you fast travel from one to another, it's loading assets as you're going. That's where the super fast SSD comes in. So it's not like it's downloading the game every time you play, but there are assets that it loads as you progress through the game. So having that always on is, for one thing, for me. I mean, who doesn't have an internet connection? I don't know why that's such a big deal. Is that a big deal for you?
I mean, it's not for me now because I've got good internet, but I understand what it's like to have really bad internet.
Yeah.
And spend a lot of time with that. So I understand that part, but that's more on the ISPs than the games, because you can't just cater to the 5% who doesn't have internet at all for some reason. But they did say they were going to look into the always online and maybe patch it so you actually can play single player offline.
I mean,
that's another good sign.
It's not, and it might be something. And Call of Duty kind of does this to some aspect, but you might have to download additional game assets, to have that.
I mean, I think people will be fine with that. It's just like, can I have the whole game offline? I don't mind a bit more.
If you want to play
space.
offline, right? That would be perfectly fine. But yeah, I mean, as far as I just don't, I see a lot of people complaining about that, and I don't understand why, because it's not like you're going to grab your Xbox mobile device and go out the door with it. It's not. I mean, of course, you can play these things on a phone, but what are you playing on a phone? You're using the internet to get on, the phone. If you don't have an internet connection, or if you have a really, really bad internet connection, or if you live in a part of the country that, or a country that has terrible internet, then I mean, this is not the only problem you're having. This is gaming
there's more problems than just this game. Yeah,
right.
It's a general thing that you got.
Maybe gaming is not something that you can do right now. Because as we get further and further, and as gaming progresses, it's going to rely more and more on the internet and cloud-based stuff, and things like that. So I just think I think I'm going to chalk that up as just somebody, people just complaining because they're complaining. Yeah. I don't think that's really an issue.
This is like a different game too, like not to complain with, because people complain about this always online. Well, you have to complain about Apex, Fortnite, Destiny, Siege, or something. Every other multiplayer game. Wow, you're saying that every single multiplayer game is bad now because they're online. So, people were fine with other games, but I think because now it's under Xbox, you have to complain about it.
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, if they, it's any aspect of it, I think they have to complain. But I'm trying. I don't want to get into a whole Twitter feed, of like complaints. I want to look at this, all of these things kind of objectively, because I played on Xbox for 20 years. You primarily play on Xbox. We want to look at this. We're customers. We're consumers. We buy these things. We buy these services, and um, it's not looking great right now. In 2021, just to give it a little bit of perspective, do you remember 2021? They were killing it. I mean, it seemed like every month it was something new. Either we were getting a whole slew of like older games that were 60 FPS. We were getting drops on Game Pass. Like, look what's coming to Game Pass. Like, oh man, I wanted to play that. And now it's on Game Pass. Even Phil Spencer would tweet something like, "Do you guys really want that kind of feature? Okay, well, let's see what we do." 2 months later, bam, we have it. They made a refrigerator.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
I got that fridge.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they made fun of looking like a refrigerator. So they made. I mean, where is that Microsoft right now? Where are they? Where is Phil Spencer? Tweeting stuff and announcing stuff and having his bookshelf behind him with some kind of secret thing on it. It's just I don't know.
Actually, they recently did have another photo with his shelf again. They'll try and look for things.
The only thing they found, they still saw the little the device. What were they calling it? God, I forgot.
The Keystone streaming device. Yeah. I don't think that's actually going to happen now, is it?
Yeah, I think they axed it for right now. I think they literally put it on a shelf.
Yeah,
it got shelved. Maybe that's why it's on a shelf, because it got
shelved. Yeah, it literally got shelved. Right. There it is.
It's like it's there because it's not going anywhere right now. But anyway, okay, so back to Redfall. I think all in all, I mean, for me, I will be playing Redfall. It is a new game, not because it's from Microsoft, not because it's on Game Pass, but I am a huge Arcane fan. I've played all their games. Really, Deathloop was the only one that I did not like, but that was not made by this team. That was made by another team at Arcane. This is Harvey Smith's team, I believe, that made Dishonored. I've finished Dishonored every time a new version comes out, or if it. I played it on Xbox. I played it on PlayStation. I played it again when it got boosted to 60 FPS. I'm now playing it on PC. It's a fantastic. It's one of my favorite games. And 2 is exceptionally good, but it just has some really weird technical issues. They changed engines and anyway. So another thing that I forgot to mention in our show notes is that I found out this game was supposed to be Unreal Engine 5. Did you read this? I thought that they had said it's going to be Unreal Engine 5. It's not. It's 4. It's Unreal Engine 4.
And I don't know if it was supposed to be 5, but yeah, it was confirmed to be like 4 in the end. So
yeah, I mean, that's possible.
I think everyone assumed it was 5 because it was like a next gen title.
Yeah, that's very possible. But that in itself is, I thought maybe if that might be why it's 30 frames per second, but no, if it's 4. Anyway, so again, I'm trying not to complain about it, but it's just one of the pieces that we're going to talk about with Microsoft and what's going on with them. So, if we're done with Redfall, let's go to the next one. And this is kind of a dead horse, but when Todd Howard was interviewed about Starfield in, I believe it was June of 22, last June, he was asked the release date. And in normal Todd Howard fashion, he was 11/11/22. And he was confident. It's like, you're confident about that. And that's what someone asked him. He said, "Oh yeah, I'm solid. It's 11/11/22." And of course it got bumped. It got bumped without a release date. So we didn't get a release date until last month. So from I guess June of last year, or actually I think it was August last year when they announced that it was going to be delayed, until March we didn't have a release date. Now we got one for September of this year. What do you think is going on with that game?
Well, I think it'll be more typical Bethesda.
It might be just bugs and more bugs.
Yeah, it's just bugs. So it might be well. If they want to release it as playable, but how playable would it be to us? I think after Cyberpunk, the
Yeah.
whole industry has sort of shifted a bit
Yes. Yes, it has.
to what's actually acceptable. So I think Microsoft looked at that and went, "Oh dear, we have to make this purchase worth it because this will be the game that tests it."
Hmm.
Redfall, no one really cared about that before. Starfield is the Bethesda game that they're going to work on.
Yeah.
So if
This.
that fails, they're in a real problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's bigger than maybe people realize because this is what they this is the tried and true Game Pass game. This is when everybody's like, oh, I'm canceling my, I don't want to play anything right now, or haven't tried it yet, or when Starfield comes out, this is what people are gonna get. They're gonna buy the game. They're gonna get Game Pass. Numbers are gonna go up, and it's got to look good. It's got to be good. Now, we know that it's going to be 30 FPS. I mean, Todd Howard has said that. He said he prefers 30 FPS.
Yeah, I think he says like he was fine with it,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But
he's fine with it. He's fine with it because of the release date probably. But um, do you think it's possible that they delayed it to have a performance mode of 60 FPS on the Xbox Series consoles?
I think it's possible they did because even with the last trailers that they had, the little, I don't know what it was, that little snippet of
Mm-hmm.
gameplay they had in the background. I don't know what it is. I don't know if that's like placebo effect or but that
No, I
gameplay
think
in the
somebody said
background
it was 60
looks
FPS.
better.
Yeah,
Looks better in the last trailer that we had,
yeah,
the gameplay. So it looks better already.
yeah.
So everyone's hoping that well, at least we have a performance mode of some
Um,
kind.
I don't. I mean, I'm going to play on PC, so it's not really my fight. But I think with in June, if they did announce, hey, we got a performance mode at 60 FPS, and they showed it at 60 FPS, that would be a huge win. That would really get back some lost faith in Microsoft. Just that one thing, and I'm hoping that is what this time is allowed them to clean up some things. There was a dev that left Bethesda, and of course, as soon as he got another job, he's like, oh, that game's a wreck, it's terrible, it's this and this. But one thing he did mention specifically is that the flying your ship was really rough because they're using a 22-year-old engine.
Yeah.
Which is, it's not that big a deal. You can add on to an engine, you can build it, you can kind of stretch it out, but Halo Infinite is essentially built on even the Slip Space engine is built on a 20-year-old engine. So and they're getting away from that. So hopefully this is something where they're able to spend the time on that and get that polished, get that cleaned, and with that, with 60 FPS. Yeah, those two things lined up, I think that it could be. I think it could just turn everything around if they release it
Yeah.
at 30 frames per second, and it is super janky. I agree with you. It's not going to be good. It's not
No,
going to be good for them at
that'll be a
all.
lot of heat for them to get. I think in June as well, they're going to have to show something because that gameplay was all right. Like it shows you like the vastness of it.
Mm.
Um, I want an epic scene, something that makes your jaw drop as well. I mean,
Yeah,
we're in space here. You can make
yeah,
something, can't we?
yeah,
So yeah, not just wandering around a planet randomly. Show the action. Show a big battle. Show like a big mission.
yeah. I mean, show what
Have
what
that
can
polished.
happen. Yes, yeah. They need to do that. They need to show the randomness of it. I mean, if anybody's played a Bethesda game, Fallout 4, Oblivion, Skyrim, you have those moments that are generated. Those moments when you're like, oh, okay, this thing's coming at me. Oh, well, there's a bear. Oh, and okay, now there's a dragon,
Yeah,
and then and those aren't scripted events. Those are things that happen, just in the world. And they're using the same engine for that. They're using the Radiant engine for quest lines and things like that. So supposedly, everyone has their own
well, it's
agenda,
how
and things will happen
like a
randomly.
Skyrim opened up. Remember how
Yeah,
Skyrim opened?
yeah,
Everyone
exactly.
remembers that.
Yeah,
How Skyrim opened, and that dragon comes down,
yeah,
and then you get away. But yeah, something to like build on that. Like this is where it goes from.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Show us like the first couple of minutes of the game where and it's, if we're not starting off in a prison, which could that's their thing is you got to start off in a prison. Um, but
It won't be a chariot. It'll just be like a space train sort of thing.
yeah,
Oh, hey, you're finally
hey,
awake.
wake up! Oh, you're awake. Yeah, I would be perfectly fine with that. I think that would be hilarious. But yeah, they need to show that, and it's been so long since we've had a game from them. It's been 2015 since we've had a proper Bethesda RPG from them that we kind of forget that those things. It's like on the surface of the game, you want to look at the graphics and you want to hear the sound and you want to see what the characters look like, but that's not what it's about. It's when you get into the game and you start playing and you get out on your own and you start doing things and all of these mechanics of the game start happening. All this randomness and all these things that you're like, oh, look at that. I want to go over there and look at that. And I want to go do that. And somebody's asking me to do this.
Yeah.
Those are really hard to portray in a trailer. And if they can, that's why I think like maybe showing like the first part of that game, because we know it's gonna have to be, exciting, because all of them are exciting. I mean, Fallout 4, you're in your house and then there's a nuclear explosion, right? You got to race to get to the shelter. I mean, that's exciting. So they need to show that. It needs to be 60 frames per second, and it needs to be the most polished Bethesda game that Bethesda could actually do. It needs to have that polish. So I'm hoping that that's what we are getting, and I hope that's what they show in June. So I don't know.
I just want a good space RPG because I like that setting.
I do too.
Well, so
we're not going to get another Mass Effect for years and years. So
yeah,
this is
so give me a Mass Effect itch.
I mean, I just want to be Han Solo. I just want to smuggle stuff and get into trouble and right. And this is this is our Star Wars / Firefly game that we never got. Hopefully. So. All right. So, is there anything else you want to add to Starfield, other than again fingers crossed?
Yeah, that's really it for Starfield.
Yeah.
Hope the best on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. Todd Howard was wearing, he was wearing his leather jacket, so that's usually a good sign. Although he was wearing a leather jacket when they introduced Fallout 76, but his team didn't make that. Let's remember that. Anybody that's out there listening is going, well, Todd Howard did oversee some of that, but that was made by a completely different team. And from what I understand, making an online game with that engine was sheer miracle. So hats off to them. Hats off to them for accomplishing that. That game was not ready to ship, and we knew it, and they knew it, and everybody knew it.
Even with the issues that it had, it's built a good community around it now. So,
yeah, I mean, several years later,
people complain, but people do want that kind of game as well at the same time.
I think that and Todd Howard did say this was a project. They didn't emphasize that and they didn't market it that way, but I think that it is really more like, let's let the community, let's let the players create this game. Let's let them dictate and see where we want to go with this. And had they been up front with that, like, hey, this is early access, right? I mean, this is like, this is totally early access. You're buying into it, but eventually this game's going to be great. I think it would have been an easier sell, and I think it would have caught a little less flack for that. But, coming from them, sorta, they couldn't market it that way. But anyway, all right, let's move away from that and let's go to the other dumpster fire, which is 343. And we've talked about this on the show before, but we did have some new things are going on. They have been since in January, I believe, was the layoffs. They did exactly what I said they were going to do. They're going completely quiet. They're not talking about the company at all. Not talking about leadership. They're not saying anything. And Frank O'Connor, who's been there since day one, has left. In my opinion, good riddance. This is the guy that said they hired people to make Halo 4 that hated Halo, that purposefully hated Halo so that they can make it great.
Yeah.
I don't know what that business strategy. That's like hiring people to make ice cream that hate ice cream. What? Why
Yeah.
would you want to?
Hire people that are lactose intolerant.
Exactly. Yeah, right. It's like, what's your favorite ice cream? I got to go to the bathroom. Um, yeah, you want people that are passionate, that want to make a better Halo, that love Halo, want to make it better. Not people that can't stand it. That's I
Yeah,
don't even.
I
Yeah,
understand from like one certain point of view because you want to sort of expand it to a general audience, but
right.
the problem is the core of a game is fan base. That's what it
Yep.
should be.
Yeah.
So the core loving Halo fans should know what makes a good Halo and what they want at the
Yeah.
same time.
No, you're absolutely right. And I mean, it's in the studios. Destiny does that a lot of times. Sometimes they're like, we kind of screwed up. What? How do you? They don't say it this way, but how do you want us to fix it? Right? What do you want? And they go to the community, and then eventually they'll go, okay, we can make this work, and we'll do it, and then everybody's happy, for 5 minutes. But 343 seems to have always struggled with that. They've had highs, they've had lows, but essentially, you know, in their defense, as far as Halo Infinite, the campaign, I think they did a fantastic job, especially modernizing something that, from 20 years ago into an open world setting. I mean, I think the campaign is just extremely fun. I think the AI is really good. I think the guns are fun. I think the setting is great. The vehicles, it's fun to play with your buddies. I mean, that's Halo in a nutshell. So, saying that, the multiplayer has been, it's getting there.
I really enjoy the multiplayer. Actually, now they did add a lot of things
Mm-hmm.
in the seasonal updates. I don't know what it is with I don't know with gaming's what gaming is at the moment. There's a lot of games because you have your CODs and your Battlefields, Fortnite, and all the big games. Um, but people complain about a lot of them, like especially COD every year. It's like, oh, COD every year is the same, but then nobody gives other shooters a chance, like Halo. Like, well, Halo then is a different type of shooter, or play Titanfall is a different type
Yeah,
of shooter.
yeah,
But everyone just goes back to the same old games again. It's like, well, no wonder these
yeah.
games are struggling because Halo is not trying to be COD. It's
Right.
Halo,
That's the
the
point.
same game it was.
Right. Yeah, you make a great point. It's like, why this is Halo? Why is this not Apex? Why is this not Call of Duty? Why is this not, Fortnite? I mean, that's kind of like a label that they put on anything. Anytime somebody tries to do something new, and Halo is not new, but they're trying to do something new with it. And you make a really good point. Why does everybody assume that it needs to be just like the top game that's out there right now? I like the multiplayer. It feels great to me because I'm a Halo fan. I've been playing Halo since it came out. Um, I also enjoy the other games, but I appreciate them for what they are. I enjoy, Apex Legends is a BR. It's a hero BR. Halo is not that. Call of Duty is a fast-paced arena shooter with loadouts and things like that. That's Halo's not that. You know,
Yeah.
so it's really hard to do something like that now in this game space. It really is. And I don't know. I don't have an answer for you for your original question why people do that. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's just how gaming is. It's just something I wonder in general.
Hmm.
There was some rumors of like the Halo BR. Did anything come out of that
It's
talk?
codenamed Kanaka, and the rumors are that it was supposed to launch this year, but Certain Affinity has asked for more time, and it may be something different. It may be more of an extraction based gameplay, which I think is a smart move. I think releasing a BR right now is a mistake. I think that
Yeah,
it's just like having a looter shooter, um, that has a lot of grinding and stuff like that. I mean, you're not going to be able to compete with Division and Destiny, and there's just You can't have too many games of that kind. BRs are there's enough of them. I mean,
Yeah, there are a dime a dozen now. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and
um,
it's leveled off. I think. I mean, it's some Apex is high. Warzone is down. The next week, Warzone will be up. Apex will be down. It's there. Who's going to play BR is there. I think another kind of gameplay like the Extraction would be a smarter, better idea. But
I
yeah,
think
no
it'll
word
be
on launch.
more suited to sort of Halo's gameplay, Halo's story as
Mm-hmm.
well. Because you're Spartans and you have to like extract and do missions, so that kind of thing works for Halo.
Yeah,
Because it's not
yeah,
just another PR for the sake of it.
yeah. Having the fast paced arena shooter and big team battle and stuff, and then trying to tie a story around that, to me always feels awkward. It feels out of place. Like, why is there even I don't need a story there. You don't need a story there. You really don't. But in something that's larger, Apex Legends does a fantastic job of having character development and character stories, and these vignettes and things outside of the game. I mean, they got some fantastic stories on YouTube of each of the characters, and they're all done in a different art style. They're great.
Yeah, they have a lot of fun with them. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was good to see.
yeah, you could do something like that with, maybe these characters that are involved in this, whatever Kanaka's going to be, but
I did see like
or
what was it
Katanka
with
or whatever it's called.
Halo's latest season. I missed the story of what's happening, but when I boot into Halo, cutscene comes up
Yeah,
the season. Um, I see it so many times now. For some reason, it won't go
it
away.
won't.
It's like I know we're in the season. We're like I don't know, a month into it or something.
Yeah, Call of
Let me
Duty
just
did that
play.
one time. It's like escape, 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 escape. Yeah, it's a bug.
They are trying to like make stories in seasons, but yeah, like a new mode. Yeah, that would freshen things up.
Yeah, and
Um,
was it?
like community maps as well. That's fun.
Yeah, was it Halo 4? I think that had Spartan Ops. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
That was a incredible idea. It just wasn't. It wasn't implemented very well at all. It had an overall. It had its own story arc. It had missions that would drop like every other week, I think. That then became like every month, and I think they just didn't realize to make the content was going to be more. It's just going to be too much, and so they just kind of abandoned it. But the idea was great to have this story arc and this ongoing missions you can play with friends. They just weren't very good. They just weren't very thought out. Oddly enough, the guy that wrote that they put in charge of Halo 5 story, and he's no longer there. But anyway, so yeah, Halo is love it, hate it. But as far as 343, again, I hopefully in June we're going to see something from 343. I think at that point it would be time for them to come out and say, hey, we're working on this. This is what we're doing. This is our plan going forward. Halo Infinite had a 10-year plan. Well, let me rephrase that. It had a 10-year game cycle. But they just didn't have a plan for it. They released a game that said it's going to be the next Halo for 10 years without planning the next year, much less the next 9. And which I think that's why some of the layoffs were a little higher up than just temps. That and it didn't sell well. It's not making money. And I've said this before on the show.
I think they need also. Hold on. When they actually reveal something, you don't have to like say when because Microsoft's not great at that recently.
Yeah.
But just say a roadmap. Say something.
Yeah.
Say, look, we want to do this, and we want to do this, and we want to do this. This will be coming in the future. I don't know how to say when because games take time, but show a general roadmap of what they're thinking of.
Yeah, and everybody's big question is like, where's the content for Halo Infinite, the campaign? I mean, you have this open world, and if you look at the map, it looks like it's got room to grow. We were expecting more biomes and something in the desert, something in the mountains, snow, or much like every other Halo game, but it just the open world itself looked very unfinished. It's like Pacific Northwest meets Alien World, and that's kind of all we got. So if there's anything that they're going to do with that, if they scrap Halo Infinite campaign, like just go, okay, we're not forwarding with that. We're just going to make a new game, and let's say Unreal Engine 5, which would probably be smarter going forward. I would be okay with that. I would probably be more okay with that than them trying to shoehorn content into Infinite just to keep a promise, right? I mean, because that seems like what they've been doing with multiplayer. Not lately, but there right after it launched, they were just kind of like, okay, we promised this, so we're trying to get it in. We promised this, so we're trying to get it in. But at the same time, go to the store and buy these skins, buy these colors.
Yeah, all the microtransactions tools, they always work on day one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that thing works flawlessly, but the game itself is lacking. I think that's another thing that really hurt them. For one, it was free to play, which is great. But when you have a free to play multiplayer game and then a paid campaign, the marketing for that is really weird. Because when you go to the store and you see it for $59.99, but you're like, most of this game I can play for free. What am I buying here? Well, you're buying an excellent campaign, but it's a little hard to, it's a little hard to swallow with your wallet. And that's why Microsoft went in and said, look, you got some layoffs, we got some changes, because with 4, say what you will about it, it was a mega blockbuster. 5, I absolutely hate that story. I wish it never happened, and I'm glad that they kind of swept it under the rug. But it sold really well. Microsoft, like, whatever. Oh, fans aren't happy with how that ended? How much money did we make? Okay, whatever. Halo Infinite doesn't make money. It's losing money. Or it's like, hey, this, $1 billion game that we just made is not making $1 billion. Then they come in and they start fixing things. So I hate it for the people that got laid off. That's terrible. But and then now Joe Staten has left, which is not really any big surprise. I mean, once Infinite launched, I think he was going to move on anyway. But he's now at Netflix Games making a AAA mega blockbuster, hopefully. So. I think
it's a problem with Halo 2. What they're trying to do with games, and where games are going in the future now for like multiplayer, is they want to try and make everything live service.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fine for some games, but I think Halo suffered for that, because just do it later. Oh, look, it's content updates. Yeah, but they should have been like, I don't know, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So just don't drip feed content to us. Make a whole game first.
Yeah, if they just released it with Halo Infinite, and it had been just like a regular Halo game, I don't think anybody really would have expected. They wouldn't be like, "Where's our content? Where's our content? This is a live service. Where's our content?" It would have just been like, "Hey, when we get maps, like we do with every Halo game. It's like, these maps are great. Where's the next maps?" We didn't really, the first 2 years, we didn't got 4 maps, I think. It was ridiculous. I mean, it was just, and then here's Call of Duty, like, oh, here's a map. Hey, here's 3. Here, have 2. Like every month they're like, here's a new season with a bunch of stuff, store included. But it completely failed at the games of service, and it was evident that they created a games of service but didn't have a plan for that service, and that's like a nail in the coffin. I mean, you might as well they just released it as a regular Halo game. But mistakes made, and you can't really fix all of that stuff. But yeah, I want to see what they're working on. I want to see where Halo is going. If they want to let Halo Infinite multiplayer play out at some point and go, okay, we're not supporting it anymore, and then let Halo sleep for a couple of years, that might not be a bad idea either. To cultivate a new team and get some things, on paper before they just dive in and start making something else. So I think Microsoft has learned some lessons here, and I think 343 has definitely learned some lessons. And the people that I did not care for that were there, the people that every time I saw them interviewed just did not seem to understand Halo, are now all gone. So I think that's a positive thing. I mean, they all found other
restructure
jobs.
goes now.
Yeah, we'll see. But I don't know. Anything you want to add about 343? They're one of their biggest studios. Yeah.
But funny enough, I don't think it's actually the biggest studio. It's just the biggest name.
Yeah, I
because
think
of Halo.
what is it? I think the coalition now is bigger than 343. Well, I mean they had like 80 layoffs, but that or who does Forza? Not Horizon. Turn 10. I think Turn 10.
Turn 10, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's their biggest studio. Which we got Forza this year, hopefully. No release date, but supposed to get it.
It was spring, then it was 23, and now it's nothing. It's like,
Again, okay, well, I mean, we can add that to the list. It's like announcing games, saying when they're going to be out, and then delaying them. I know that happens in gaming, but with every game, I mean, like, can you not? I think that's probably why they took Hi-Fi Rush and was, let's just shadow drop this. No release dates. Don't you dare say when. Just whenever it's ready, just let me know. We'll drop it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just don't put a date on it.
and that was just a great reveal too.
It was
I like
a great
that
game too. God, if you hadn't played it, go play it. Man, that game is it's fun. Remember when games were fun? Yeah, that's that game. But yeah, the next topic is, and it kind of falls into this too, is marketing. I remember a time when Xbox had TV commercials. I remember when they were on websites. You'd go to a website and there'd be like, Master Chief or Fable or something over to the side. I remember when Xbox Live was like marketed everywhere. Do you remember those days? Because I do. I don't see Xbox anywhere. I mean, anywhere. I see PlayStation
I
everywhere.
rarely see Xbox and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, do they even have a marketing team anymore? I mean, it's.
I mean, if it's bad for you over there in the US,
I know, right?
That's a bad sign. Because here Xbox doesn't exist.
Xbox used to make commercials that purposefully would get banned. Like, you can't put that on TV. And they'd go, okay, good, it's banned. Put that banned commercial on the internet, and everybody's like, have you seen this commercial? I mean, that's the kind of Microsoft that it used to be, or kind of Xbox that it used to be. I don't see any market. They have more money than anybody. Why are they not marketing their games? Now, this kind of falls into my, conspiracy theory that they are trying to make themselves look smaller and smaller and smaller, so that there's all of these, the CMA and the FTC and everybody, it's like, okay, we get it. You're not very big. Sony's huge. You're approved. But
that's not just this year's problem. That's been their problem for years.
It's been their problem since January of 2022. Now, what happened in January of 2022? They announced that they bought Activision Blizzard King. And since then, we've seen this little line that goes, just a steady decline in games, quality, marketing, showcase, hardware updates. I mean, everything across the board has declined. Now, we did get some good stuff. I mean, we got Grounded was released. We got Pentiment. Sorry. It's not like they're not releasing stuff and we're not getting good stuff, but it's just that quality, man. In 2021, they were killing it. 2022 rolls around, we're buying Activision Blizzard King, and it's just we're trying to tank it until so we don't look as like any kind of market leader.
So I'm pretty sure that deal is done now, so they can ramp up.
Well, the FTC still has to approve it. The CMA is supposedly going to approve it on next month. I think something's going on.
I thought it was next week.
Maybe it's next
Actually,
week. Microsoft's going to be there, some kind of showcase or something. They happen to be there
that,
showing their
that was
stuff.
that was the funniest story I found. Was they're going to show it to the UK government? They're going to go to Downing Street. Like what?
Yeah, they're going to be on. They're going to be this like, what is this kiosk? What is this? Oh,
Can you imagine Microsoft just going to the White House and going to Biden? Hey, you want to play some Xbox?
yeah. You want to play some big team battle? Yeah, it's. I think okay, so if my theory is correct, when the FTC, when this deal goes through and it's official that they got the thumbs up, which everybody thinks they will, it's just a matter of just getting it all done. Yeah. If we see a different Microsoft, if we see a more aggressive marketing through the roof, it is everywhere. They're giving away cars that are green. It's you know what I mean. I mean, it's like every Mountain Dew has Starfield on it.
Stuff.
Yeah, Xbox is on every Cheetos package.
Just recently, they had we have a Lucasade thing with Xbox stuff on it right now. So yeah, there's a little bit of Xbox marketing here and there.
Okay. Well,
Lucasade, and we got Xbox Oreos. So.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, we didn't get those here. Yeah. Well,
there are little stuff, but they haven't mega marketed it yet.
Maybe next week when this thing approves over there, you might. I mean, again, if my theory is correct, you'll start seeing it everywhere. And I think they need to be aggressive with this. So anyway, but that's just speculation, and that's I don't want to get too deep into that because I'll have to get my tinfoil hat out, and I don't know where it is.
But, I mean, like here though, it's just that's always been a problem I've found. Maybe it's been different in the US over years, but the rest of the world, Xbox just doesn't sell as well. It doesn't feel like it has a presence in a lot of places. Half of that is they're going all digital, so why even have a corner in the game store anymore?
Right. Yeah.
People just don't know. Like they just don't know about Xbox and its services and its games and what they own and all this other stuff.
Yeah, and
so they need to push it. Like, look, we have Activision, we have Bethesda, we have this, Game Pass. Get it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Call of Duty, Xbox. Call of Duty, Xbox. It's like Call of Duty is Xbox. Xbox is Call of Duty. I mean, that should, when Destiny 1 came out, and you may remember this, but it was the marketing deal was done with Sony. Because I think at the time Bungie was like, we've had enough Microsoft,
Yep.
So it couldn't even be announced on Xbox. Like when they announced it and it said coming to PlayStation, and then in like a very small little bitty thing, it said also on Xbox One. I mean, it was like so just miniature. And then same thing with Hogwarts Legacy. People were buying PlayStations because they thought they had to have one to play Hogwarts Legacy.
I thought it was exclusive.
Yeah, how do you let that happen?
I mean, surely, I don't care what marketing deal companies have. Surely you can just say, hey, we're Xbox, we have this game. Yeah. Surely you can say that.
You can just tweet it. I mean, you can't,
It's weird.
I mean, I don't know. It just baffles me. I mean, Microsoft could buy Sony 3 times. But yet they let them get like every marketing deal. And nothing against PlayStation. I mean, it's not like there's nothing wrong with playing Hogwarts Legacy on PlayStation. But it's just the fact that, it used to be it's like, here's a game. Here's what it's on. Xbox, PlayStation, PC, Switch, whatever. Now when you get that marketing deal, it's like Sony makes it look like it is only on Sony. Which is, they can do that. They've got the marketing deal. If Xbox gets it, I don't know. Yeah. They haven't gotten one in so long. I don't even know. Like the Division, they got the one for the Division. They got, I think they got the one for Destiny 2, I want to say, but not Destiny 1. I don't know, but it's been a long time since they got the marketing deal for a major multiplat.
Because they didn't want that sort of those time deals or exclusivity deals, that content stuff. Problem is, PlayStation goes hard on their marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So they're selling his PlayStation as much as they're selling the game.
Absolutely.
And that's what Microsoft need to do. They need to get some teeth and just really sell the games again.
They really do, and they don't have to. They're not trying to win a console war. They don't have to sell the consoles. PlayStation does. That's part of their revenue. That's part of their projected revenue. So if they don't sell the consoles, somebody goes, what's going on over there? Microsoft doesn't. They want to sell the services, right? But there's nothing wrong with selling. They lose money on every Xbox that they sell. But that doesn't mean they can't be aggressive with it and put an Xbox in every home, right? I mean, that's the way I would be looking at it if I owned it.
Essentially, that's what they want.
Right.
Either an Xbox or an Xbox device,
Right.
some sort.
Right. I mean,
service.
even if you have a phone, you can still get Game Pass and play games on Game Pass with your phone or tablet or PC or anything. You can stream them. You can, and that's great. But if you have the Xbox, I mean, who's going to buy Xbox and not get Game Pass at least for a month? So they need to go back to selling those. I mean, and there's also they used to give developers, they used to have somebody at a developer going, hey, here's how our console works. What do you need help with optimizing this? And it seems like in the last year and a half, they haven't been doing that. And titles that have been released, even though it has better hardware than the PlayStation 5, it has more titles that are 120 FPS than PlayStation. We're seeing games now that are performing less and worse on Xbox.
Yeah. Not that an average person will know, but it's like, why is it doing that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not
on a more powerful console.
Right. And it's not anything that you would notice. I mean, and people's like, "Oh my God, look at this! It's performing terrible." We're talking about like 80 frames per second compared to like 78 frames per second. It's not anything that is unplayable by any means, but it's also not indicative of what we used to get with that hardware. It used to play better on Xbox because it was better hardware. Yeah. Now I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. And that's another thing that they need to work on. They need to have, it needs to be the same on both hardware, if not better. I'm not touting it's like, oh, Xbox is better. It should have 60 and they should have 30. No, but it should be on par if it's a multi-plat. The hardware in those boxes are not that different. They're both built on, PC-centric hardware with some customized SSDs and memory. And that's it. So
maybe Microsoft have to update the developer kits or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably something to where it's
seem to fall behind on something.
Yeah. Well, it's using this as an example, it's like Starfield was being made for PlayStation and Xbox. So when they got bought and they went in and said, well, we're not going forward with they did the same thing with Redfall, but that's not a good example. They said we're just going to do Xbox and PC. They threw a party because it's like one platform that they don't have to develop for. So
a bit easier for them on their hardware,
right.
And they had also Xbox engineers go to them and help out. That's why another reason why I want Starfield to be the best polished Bethesda title,
right?
Because they're actually going, let's see what we can do.
Yeah, you got one box and you got PC and you're good. That's all you're having to do it for. And really, their games probably not. I mean, the PlayStation is PlayStation 5 is a different console, but historically, Oblivion, I think came out 6 months or something after the Xbox version, and then the Skyrim version or the PlayStation version of Skyrim was noticeably not on par with the Xbox version. And even so, its memory was a little bit different. If you played long enough and had enough inventory and enough quests completed, the game slowed down so much you can't even play it. It's just like it was
It's funny how-
terrible. And I played it. I got to that point. I'm like, what is wrong with this thing?
Funny how like that was acceptable, and now we're like, 30.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's probably would have had no, on the PlayStation 4. I don't think it had any issues or anything, but
like even like
funny.
Or on the PlayStation side, they were just more restrictive on Bethesda games because like mods you can put on, and Sony were quite tight on that. So I'm hoping Xbox would just let it open, like
they were like
PC, but just
like
have
no
a lot of
nudity.
stuff.
Anything else goes. Yeah. There's a different. If
I would hate to see people's ships.
God. Yeah, we know what the first one would be. But yeah, if you play Skyrim on Xbox and you go to the mods, there's like thousands of mods, and a lot of them are really good. I did a voice for one of them. And then if you go over to PlayStation, it's like there's hundreds, and they're all basically the same because there's a file that you have to change in the operating system, from what I understand, which is very limited. That allows you to change a lot of things in that Bethesda game. And that's what Sony doesn't allow you to do. It doesn't allow you to alter that. So you can't, if you can't overwrite that, then, the mods are very, very limited. And that's it's just not great for...
Only are restrictive in like what you can mod and what you can have access to.
Yeah.
Regard.
Yeah. And that's
Which
just
is, fair enough
PlayStation.
sometimes, but yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you wanted to play Skyrim or Fallout 4, it was that was one instance where it was actually better to play on Xbox than it was on PlayStation. And then now they own them, so I'm expecting full mod support for Starfield. So, and I think that's something, again, marketing. Hopefully, that's something we'll see with this thing in June is mod support. Day one. Where I'm hoping that they're going to show some games that have not been announced yet and that are going to be released later this year or early next year. I think that they...
Yeah, I'm hoping for some games later in the year, but
yeah,
I mean, they have Forza and Starfield. I don't know if that's enough, like a big hitters.
After last year, I don't think so. They need something else. They need something. I'm not saying they should release Fable or but I think that showing Avowed and where that is in development would, and you don't have to give us a release date. Just show us Avowed. I just want to see it. Tell us where they are in Fable. It's like, hey, have somebody from the development team come out and go, hey, I work on Fable, and this is what we're working on, and and it's going to be a while, but I mean, we're understanding when it comes to release dates and having to wait for games. That's what we do. I mean, we E3 happens, we saw this cool stuff, and then we sit and we wait. We wait and we wait and wait. Sometimes years to play these things. I can't even imagine when they're going to release Elder Scrolls 6. I might not even be alive. So,
see you guys in 2030.
Or maybe more, 33, or it might be 10 years out. But they need to have a win this year. Redfall, I don't think it's going to be it. But I hope that this FTC thing goes through soon, so we can see what kind of marketing is going to come after that is in place. And putting a lot of those titles on Game Pass, like in June, whatever. Here's like all past Call of Duties up to like the last couple of ones, which is what I think their deal is. They can't put the latest.
That's what they need as well. That big drop, they need
a giant
here
drop.
Is Activision. Boom.
Yep. And market that. Have that everywhere. You want to play Call of Duty? Come to Game Pass. I mean, I would love to play some older titles. There's a lot of... I bought pretty much every Call of Duty on Xbox. I own one on PC, right? So I can't go back and play any of them unless I buy them again. So having those in Game Pass would really be fun, even if it's not the latest one. I don't know the latest one, but anyway. So I think that's what they need to do. Marketing needs to ramp up. They need more presence. They need goofy contests. They need to be, edgy again. PlayStation is not doing that. Xbox needs to do that. They need to be cutting edge. They need to be, they need more banned commercials. Anyway. Okay. So let's move on to the next one, which is going to be total speculation again. But why is Xbox not getting Square Enix games, Liam? Do you know? Do you have any idea why?
Well, Square doesn't like them, apparently. Square's always been weird with Xbox, or just with platforms in general.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll just say this time next year, I think they're a Sony studio anyway.
Yeah.
So I think they've made their deals for future reference with Sony. Yeah, some of their titles not releasing that's a strange one. Like, what was it? They don't release Final Fantasy 7 or 16.
Right.
But what was the last one? Crisis Core?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Reunion. Yeah. That released on Xbox. Like, why? We don't have the others.
And why not 7? Well, I don't think it was officially announced on Xbox, but it was kind of announced. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it was just rumor. I don't pay attention. I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy fan, but yeah, it's really weird. And you might be onto something if they're trying to sign deals with Sony, or if they're, in talks with Sony to buy them. Everybody thinks it's always the other way around. Sony goes to Square Enix and goes, "Oh, we want to buy you." Usually, if it's like, "Oh, we want to buy you," and they go, "Here's a number. Here's a number." They agree, done. Then they announce it. When a studio wants to be bought, then it's different. Then it's then there's a lot of concessions you have to make and deals that have to go on paper, and for it to be, attractive to that buyer. And that may be what we're seeing here, is that's like, okay, so if we're in talks with Sony to be bought, we don't want to release anything on Xbox because they kind of frown upon that, especially in Japan, which we found out here recently that the government's okay with them saying, no, we're not releasing anything on Xbox, even though it's available here anyway. So that may be what's going on, or Microsoft and Square Enix have made some deals in the past that were not beneficial to Square Enix, or they thought that they probably weren't. One comes to mind is the Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider. They got exclusivity for a year, which again was fantastic. That's what you should do. But it didn't, in normal Square Enix fashion, they're like, well, it didn't meet sales expectations. So maybe they blamed Xbox for that, and they don't want to.
The funny thing is with Square Enix, every single game they release is not meeting their expectations.
So 20 million copies, it really didn't do that great,
Like what are you expecting? If you're doing exclusive deals, if you're doing these time deals, or these weird things where it releases one and not the other, you're not going to get as many sales.
No,
as a third party.
That's what this says. Like,
either first party or a third party. Like, pick one.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to go multi-platform and then complain about your sales, why don't you just take a gun and shoot yourself in the foot? I mean, it's very weird. Only thing I can think of is like if they've got the developers are getting some kind of bonus for having so many sales, or if Square Enix is like, well, if we think it's enough sales, then you'll get a bonus. So then they come out and go, nah, it didn't do very well at all. 20 million copies is not enough. It paid for itself and then made everybody rich. No, it's no big deal. They're very weird about that, and especially selling a lot of their IPs off. Actually, a lot of their Western IPs may be another way of them going, we want to merge, or we want to be bought by Sony, which is a Japanese-owned company. Let's not forget that. Sony is a Japanese-owned company, not an American-owned company. So when we start when people start fighting about the FTC, blah, 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 blah. Microsoft is an American company. The FTC is a Federal Trade Commission here in the United States. Anyway, I'll leave you, to figure out the rest. But yeah, Sony should just buy them. Don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just buy them.
At this point, yeah, it's like I don't even care anymore. Just buy them. The writing's on the wall for me.
Yeah.
So like, it's just a matter of time.
I mean,
they're going to downsize so much that they're just going to be a Final Fantasy team, or they'll just get bought by Sony anyway.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it would be a good pick for Sony. Sony, I mean, they would be great to have them. I mean, even I don't think Final Fantasy 16 is coming to Xbox at all, right? I know it's coming to PC later.
I mean, Final Fantasy VII Remake was timed and never came to Xbox, so I'm going to assume the same thing happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the rest of the games just don't do well outside of Final Fantasy right now.
They're gonna say it doesn't. Oh, it didn't meet expectations. It didn't sell enough. That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, if you want to sell more, you have to put it on more platforms. If Sony gives you so much money to not put it on another platform, which we know they do, I mean that's their tactic. Then if that's making enough money for you, then go for it. And I know that from looking at Final Fantasy 16, it looks good. It's not really my cup of tea, but it's going to sell well. We know it's going to sell well, right? So
yeah, I mean PS5s are flying off shelves, so you get a lot of sales.
Yeah, and the way they're marketing it is exactly how you market a third-party exclusive, which is something again Microsoft is not doing at all. So it's a good comparison. If you look at the marketing with Final Fantasy 16 and the marketing for nothing on Xbox. I mean, it's not even there. So, yeah. So I don't know. So anyway, I kind of wanted to tie this all up into a rumor. This is a total rumor, in which I'm not sure if it's true. And then we can talk about how this is not true. But according to Game Rant, which is not really known to be a good source, Microsoft is not happy with the current state of Xbox. Do you think, looking at the whole picture, do you think that that's true? Is Microsoft looking at Xbox like, what's going on?
I mean, there could be some truth to it, obviously, because we're all thinking it, like, why isn't Xbox doing this? But in terms of their services and things like that, that's going to be the way up. They're like expanding PC Game Pass and doing Game Pass, Friends and Family. So all their services, games, offerings on that side is doing well. But yeah, Xbox box isn't selling good at the moment. They haven't marketed it, so I don't know what their position is on how they feel right now.
Yeah, I don't know if that. Okay, if you look at it like in a vacuum, that would make sense. Oh, you're not doing well, blah blah blah. I don't think that that's what's going on. Microsoft is trying to buy a giant publisher. Do they expect? Well, let's put it this way. Phil Spencer is not at the FTC. Everybody thinks that that's what's going on. Microsoft has lawyers. Microsoft tells the lawyers what they want. The lawyers go and get what Microsoft wants. That's how that works. It's not like, the head of Xbox is, or the head of Microsoft is there, fighting for it. They let the lawyers do that. So in the interim, though, if you look at how Xbox is right now, yeah, you think their bosses would not be happy with that. but they're still making money. It's down a little bit, but it's because they're not releasing any games. They're not releasing any exclusives. Exclusive sells the consoles. Exclusive sells Game Pass. So, yeah. I mean, I think that maybe it's just a half-truth. I just don't see that they could be like, hey, we're really unhappy with the state of this right now, but that's okay because we look really bad. So when the FTC like looks at us because they don't know anything about video gaming, they're going to go, oh, wow, it's this, yeah, Sony is a giant company that's got the market lead. And then we can do this.
If they weren't happy at all with Xbox, they wouldn't just okayed a $70 billion deal to make.
Right. They wouldn't be like, hey, go buy Activision. And that's okay. They're okay with those numbers. I guarantee you. I know this is conspiracy, but if you look at, it's so funny. PlayStation is fighting over Call of Duty. Microsoft's like, okay, whatever we want to do with Call of Duty, we'll release it on PlayStation, no big deal, because we don't care. We want King. We want that mobile market. We want that $1 trillion mobile market. That's what they want. That's what this whole thing is about. Is they want that mobile market because they don't have one. They want to be in line with Apple and Google and have their own store, because they can't really deal with Google and Apple as far as Game Pass and xCloud and all. It doesn't work very well that way. They have to make too many. So they want their own. They want to make their own format for that.
And Apple doesn't even allow like different apps on their store, so you have to get around that.
Right. So you can't be on Apple and then streaming something in another store and buy, like, you can't be playing Halo Infinite and buy a skin, through the Microsoft store on an Apple device. And there's a lot of things there that just go wrong with that. Apple doesn't like that. Google doesn't like that. So with them having that, getting into that mobile market via King, which is one of the biggest, then they'll be able to do something a little different with that. Now, whether they do or not, they might just sit back and just roll in the money from Candy Crush, but that's what they want. That's what this is all about. So them being unhappy with the current state of Xbox, I don't think they care right now. I don't think it's really that important. I think they're willing to lose a little bit to gain everything. And that's smart business. That's how you do it. If I'm wrong, then they're just idiots. They're in serious trouble. So
I'll put a conspiracy out there as well.
No, please do.
Let's say this Activision Blizzard deal goes through. Well, we're all expecting it anyway.
Yeah.
But that goes through fine, and they open their mobile market. You know who they could buy next? Sega.
Yes.
Because they just bought Rovio.
Yep.
Of Angry Birds. So it's all going to come together.
Okay. That might be, Well, that would be a good way. It's like, hey, we're going to buy you, but we can't buy anything right now until this goes through. Can you just buy Angry Birds, and then when you buy them and this clears, then we'll buy you? And they're like, yeah, okay, cool. I mean, that's exactly how that meeting went down.
Yeah.
I could hear it. Yeah. That'd be huge. Yeah. Seeing as, Sony kind of put Sega out. Well, I don't know. I don't want to say that. Sega kind of put theirself out of business with the console market, but they have had a good relationship with Xbox. Even the first Xbox, they had some exclusive titles, and they're like Sega GT. I loved that game. Anybody ever played Sega GT? That was one of my favorite racing games, and I'm not a big racing fan. But yeah, they've had a really good rapport with Xbox and Microsoft, and you're right, man. That's a good conspiracy. I'm gonna put that in my tinfoil hat and keep it. So yeah, I think that if you look at all of these things, I think it would be very difficult to run a console/gaming company this bad. I think it would be like, especially having such a good run and turning it around, like doing a complete 180 with Xbox completely, because they were ready to sell it off in 2014. They were like, God, this tanked miserably. And to turn it around and turn it into this, I think it's not likely that they are just, all throwing a party and letting the boat drive itself. That just doesn't make sense to me. It's not been their strategy up until now. So I have hope that this is all going to get better. I have hope that Starfield is going to release in a much better state at 60 frames per second performance mode. And we're going to see a lot of really cool stuff in June, because it's the end of the year is not looking it's looking really slim as far as gaming in general.
Well, I mean, we won't know until like June anyway what comes out at the end of the year. So we've got plenty of games until then to see.
Yeah, I mean, we're supposed to get Spider-Man 2 for PlayStation, but they haven't shown anything and they haven't given a release date, and we're already in April. We're going into May. And if that's going to launch this year,
I think is they just said, like, I don't think they said it, but it's looking for September. So that's official or not, I don't know.
What's his name? Tony Todd, I think is his name. He kind of let it go that it was September. He's one of the voice actors. In the game. Funny story for people that are, Tony Todd, that's the actor that I believe played Candyman. But he was also on an episode of X-Files, 100 years ago. And his name in that episode of X-Files was Augustus Cole, which, if you know, is the name of Coltrane in Gears of War. So which was, that show was way before Gears of War. Oddly, I don't know. Maybe they stole that name from that episode. Who knows? That's just an odd name to kind of come up randomly. Augustus Cole. Anyway, I just thought that was just a random Xbox trivia for our Xbox-centric show. I should send that over to Ryan McCaffrey for his trivia. But anyway, so all in all, again, not being fanboys whatsoever, just kind of giving a screenshot basically of how Xbox is doing, what it looks like from two guys that essentially play on Xbox and PC, and how we feel about it. I don't, I still own a Series S, and as far as playing on Game Pass and everything, I don't have any regrets. I don't feel like I'm not getting my money's worth for Game Pass. Do you? Do you feel like it's like, hey, I'm going to cancel it for a couple of months, or?
No, definitely not. I've always been on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Even if it's like not a lot of games that I like. It's more often than not more games that I can try out and I do like. And yeah, the look of some games would never have caught me before.
Yeah.
One of my favorite games that I would never have looked at probably is Vampire Survivors.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so addicted to that game. That game went to Game Pass, and as soon as I've downloaded and played it, I was like, I'll buy it. It was cheap anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so some games you never know just by the look of them. See, that's just a pixel thing. But something so simple can just be so addicting at the same time. So yeah, every month I always will try out a few Game Pass games if I like them. I buy a few. I bought a few Ubisoft games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always have it, and it does have a lot of value to it for me.
Yeah, same here. Even on PC, when you get a new PC, it's kind of the same thing. If you've got, if you're coming from like PlayStation or Nintendo or even Xbox and getting a PC, if you get PC Game Pass, you've got, a ton of titles to just download and play. I recently downloaded Age of Empires 4. I'm playing a little bit of that, and I was always been a semi-fan of those games. I do kind of wear out of them losing a lot, but yeah, those are things that I wouldn't buy Age of Empires 4, but I like having it and jumping in every once in a while and doing some base building and stuff, and kind of just playing something a little bit different. And that's what I like about Game Pass, is that you can play something a little bit different. I just downloaded Wasteland 3. It's been on my list. I haven't played it. And I downloaded it last night. I'm going to give it a try today because I'm for some reason on this kick of like turn-based RPGs, and those guys have made those for years. So it's supposed to be really good. So yeah, all in all, I'm not feeling like as a customer I'm getting jilted on what I'm paying for. I just feel like I'm not getting what was promised to me, I guess is a better way of saying it, as far as like, the games coming out and release dates and whatnot. So, but that's gaming. That's pretty much gaming in a nutshell.
I mean, release dates are hard.
Yeah.
So I think hopefully Microsoft learns from that. Because, I mean, obviously they want games to come out as much as we do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They can sell them, we buy them,
Yeah.
But saying definitive dates is really difficult. And sometimes even a few months out, you don't know. So, yeah, just say, like, if they're going to say, like, a next year game, just say 2024. Don't even say a release window or anything.
Yeah,
say
just give us a year or something.
Don't say, February, then delay it 6 months, and then delay it to next year, because it just annoys us.
Yeah, especially like Halo Infinite, that was like 4 months into release, and it got bumped a year. And seems like since then there have been other titles that are like, we showed it. I don't think anybody liked it. We're gonna go into anyway. And there's some titles that I think should have, like Battlefield 2042, should have been delayed another year. But you got to make money. Microsoft has the luxury of having, sitting on a fat wad of cash to allow some titles to be delayed and, get the polish that they need. But all in all, with their acquisitions and what they've got, I do fear that they may get too big. Not too big as far as in the market, but too big for them.
Yeah, I understand that. That's probably what everyone was worried about too, when this whole acquisition started. Because that is a big acquisition to take. Yeah. And as much as I like stuff in Game Pass and all this, I don't want one company to own half a market either.
Yeah, and I don't.
All the like publishers owned by 3 people, 3 companies. So yes, it's a slippery slope sometimes when you look at it like that.
Yeah, it's kind of more of like, I would rather like Activision just stay independent and just do a better job, like just do better. But that's not realistic. But also, I want Microsoft to buy them, because if they are for sale, I don't want someone else to buy them. Like Amazon or AT&T or another company that has nothing to do with gaming, but just has a bunch of cash and wants to get into game. Hey, there's billions to make here. Let's just buy Activision, and then everything just go right in the toilet. Microsoft at least knows
like Facebook or Meta, whatever they're called now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it can happen. And okay, well, that was totally my fault. My internet went out for some reason. So anyway, we're back, and we were just recapping anyway. I think that we're not going to know really anything until Redfall comes out, and we'll see, where it stands. I'm hopeful. I think it's going to be a fun game, and then we won't know anything else until
I think
June.
It will be a fun game.
Yeah. What is?
I hope like when like user reviews, well, not user reviews come out. Not gonna like use a 30 FPS as a sticking point. Like, oh, it would be great, but it sucks now because it's like low FPS and this and that. No, is it a good game? Is it a fun game? That's what I want to know.
Well, it's gonna have that. I think it docks like 4 or 5 points just for being an Xbox game. The games media. Yeah.
Sometimes.
So I don't go to any websites for reviews to judge if I'm going to buy a game or not, because I do think that a lot of them are biased, and I think a lot of them are just journalists and don't really play a lot of games. That's just me. So, but with that being said, yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, I think it's probably going to be a talking point in reviews. I think it's going to be something that is, it's going to get demerit or whatever for that. But I just hope that 60 frame per second patch is not going to be something that we're just going to wait and eventually not get.
Yeah.
So that's not gonna, that wouldn't be good. So, but again, I mean, we don't really have anything else coming out exclusive wise until, well, September, unless they, man, it would really.
I mean, Forza could come out in the summer, I guess.
It could.
We just don't know. There's no states still.
Yeah, and that's that
for a lot of games, really, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think that kind of sums it up, right? We don't know. Fable is completely. I mean, it's not even on a calendar.
I mean, I'm not expecting that anytime soon. Fable.
No. Avowed.
I think the closest one that we probably know of is Hellblade. I think that could come end of the year, maybe early 24.
That is
possibly
rumored. Yeah.
Only because they're sort of active on Twitter now. Ninja Theory, that is. They are like making their dev diaries and showing things off. They show their Unreal footage. So they are being active.
Yeah. Well, they have another
so I'm
game.
hoping that comes out sooner.
Project Mara, I think, is a horror game.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll get shadow dropped in June. And then a release date for Hellblade 2. That would be good. I would be happy with that. But yeah, I agree with you, man. Just give us some release days. Just give us some kind of roadmap. Nothing that we have to stick to. I think they really hurt themselves last time saying this is what's released in the next 12 months.
Yeah.
And you can't.
They're damned if they do, damned if they don't sometimes. But
yeah. They don't want to get release dates, but if they don't get release dates, it's that's anybody really. But
yeah, but just say it's like it's coming next year.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this will be out next year, or something like that.
Well, what is your most wanted game for the year?
I mean, my most wanted. I think my most wanted game is probably Starfield.
Yeah.
There's something else like drops that I'm excited for. I just want to see Starfield, how it plays.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. Mine's Diablo 4 though. Until I see some real gameplay, like somebody actually playing Starfield, that's my game of the year. That's my most anticipated.
Yeah. Did you see like there's going to be another beta weekend for Diablo?
Yep. The 12th to the 14th.
I get to play a bit more because that was actually really quite fun.
Yeah.
I
I've said this on the show. Shortly after the last beta, I don't want to play anything else. I just want to play Diablo. Yeah. It's like when anything else that comes out, I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. But so maybe that's a good.
I think it will be like good for the summer. Yeah, come out in June and don't worry, I'll play Starfield after. I'm going to play some Diablo right
September.
now.
Yeah, I can wait. I'm good. I'll be playing this in September too, probably. So, all right. Well, cool. Well, let's fingers crossed, positive vibes, everything for Xbox and moving forward. And I think that pretty much wraps it up. Liam, thanks for filling in for me. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks for giving your insight on Xbox. And then, Nate and Thick should be back next week, and we'll have a full show then. So thanks for joining us, and you can catch us here on YouTube. Bye.
Bye.